I recently got the chance to stay at the Inn at 500, located in the heart of downtown Boise. With complimentary drinks at check-in and spacious luxe penthouses and suites, it's an ideal spot for celebrations and your visitors. It was the perfect place for me and my husband to sneak away for a little staycation. We loved the cozy fireplace in our room and the balcony with gorgeous views of the city skyline, where we shared coffee in the morning. Ready to plan an unforgettable Boise stay? Book now at innat500.com. Today on CityCast Boise, a Christian lobbying group wants to make reading the Bible mandatory in state public schools. Will Idahoans like being forced to mix church and state? And the Boise airport is now 100% powered by clean energy, so we're re-examining the city's climate goals. Plus, we spotlight a cosmic local character. It's Friday, November 22nd. I'm Lindsay Van Allen, and this is what Boise's talking about. Welcome to another Friday, everyone. Joining me today is our executive producer, Frankie Barnhill. Thank you so much for being here today, Frankie.
Yeah, happy to be here. We made it through another week.
Yeah, we did it. We're cruising into the holidays.
Yeah, truly.
So there are quite a few stories, and especially here at the end of the week, there have been some pretty bombshell stories that have broken. And one of those is that the Idaho Family Policy Center is they're a lobbying group in Idaho, and they are looking to potentially introduce a bill, and ultimately they would like it to become law in Idaho, that the Bible would be read in all Idaho public schools. Approximately, they say about 20 verses a day. They would like children to read the whole Bible or have the whole Bible read to them within a 10-year time frame. I know I have a lot of thoughts, lots of feelings, lots of thoughts about this topic. But Frankie, I want to know, what are some of your thoughts? What jumps out to you about this story, or how do you think about this?
Yeah, this is from a friend of the show and contributor Ian Max Stevenson in the Idaho Statesman, who wrote up about this. And Blaine Canzotti with the Idaho Family Policy Center. He's back with a new plan, a very questionable plan, to say the least. This group, you mentioned they're a lobbying group. They're proudly Christian nationalist. They're a group, a group that was behind, just for more context, abortion bills in recent legislative sessions, anti-trans laws, anti-drag show, anti-library, and they're very proud about wanting to have Christian values instilled in our government, in our schools now. Mm-hmm. And this is the latest one. And yeah, it's kind of a bomb that was thrown, it feels like, at the end of this week in some ways.
Vice actually did this really fascinating documentary highlighting the Idaho Family Policy Center and Blaine Canzotti specifically, and the Christian nationalism. There were Idaho legislators in attendance to these meetings where he's promoting this very specific Christian nationalism idealism and what the legislators should do to make that happen. You can see the Crane brothers are in attendance in this Vice documentary, and this isn't new at all. Just maybe a pivot from what they've focused on before. And I do think it's really interesting in the Idaho Statesman article that Blaine Canzotti said he doesn't like the definition of Christian nationalism because nobody can agree on it, which I don't think is accurate. I think he just doesn't like what the definition is.
Yeah.
And that it accurately describes what he's doing.
Right.
So
yeah, he's not calling himself a Christian nationalist, to clarify what I said, but that is truly, that is the definition of what this group is about.
Yes. And so he's launched a petition that is called, Bring the Bible Back to School. They've gotten, according to him, 2,500 signatures for this movement. They'd like to introduce some legislation this legislative session. And he talks about how this will promote Christian values, how, historically, back in the day, kids were read the Bible in Idaho schools, supposedly, and now they're not. And so he links that to the, quote, breakdown of our society that he says is happening right now, and that reading 20 Bible verses would, I guess, in his view, stop that.
Yeah. So many things to say. I mean, yeah, well, backing up, you're right, though. This is not it's a little bit of an acceleration, I guess, in some ways of what they've been doing, but in no way is this like an aberration from what this lobbying group has been about. And what the Idaho legislature, the far right elements of it for sure, have been interested in recent years. And looking at the national landscape, like Oklahoma, you've probably heard this, that their superintendent announced that they wanted every single classroom in Oklahoma to read from the Bible. Interestingly enough, this school year was the first for them to be under this new mandate from the superintendent. So not a state law, but the superintendent saying that. And teachers and schools are resisting it in Oklahoma. So that's an interesting side note to this. If this were to happen in Idaho, what does that actually look like in the classrooms? But yeah, I mean, I think that the concept of, separation of church and state, right? People are talking about this a lot, obviously, and this is the crux of it. This was a founding principle of our country. It was first used, that exact phrase, separation of church and state. I just looked this up to remind myself. It was first used by Thomas Jefferson. Now, of course, there were some founding fathers, quote unquote, who didn't agree exactly or had like slightly different definitions. But regardless, at this stage, it's legal precedent. It's also like a cultural precedent, I think, generally, but it has been challenged in recent years. And there's kind of this return and interest in these kind of values and bringing a religion into a public school. The exact clause from the First Amendment, I had to remind myself because I have it memorized sometimes, then I forget. It's Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So, of course, so many things to interpret, but the courts have interpreted this over and over again at all various levels in our government. But I mean, I think that the Idaho Family Policy Center is capitalizing on a moment. We are a few weeks after Trump was reelected, and is heading into we're heading into a time where, of course, the House, the Senate, and the federal level are behind him mostly. The Supreme Court has a lot of his conservative picks, and of course, the Idaho legislature has a supermajority of Republicans.
Well, and I just think it's so interesting, ironic, you could even say hypocritical, that literally last legislative session, this same group, people affiliated with Idaho Family Policy Center, were pitching a fit saying, what if a doctor in Idaho has to perform an abortion and it goes against their religious values? Right. What if medical staff, what if they have to get the COVID vaccine and that goes against their deeply held beliefs or values? But now they have no problem forcing teachers to read from the Bible, no matter what their beliefs are. And, this is the moment where I'm like, hey, if this does get passed, this is the moment we need, somebody needs to have a lawsuit that we read the Quran at school. Let's talk about those religious values. How about the Rig Veda? How about the Book of Mormon? Lots and lots of LDS people in this state. Blaine's whole argument that he's making, I don't think in good faith, is that the Bible is being kept from kids. The Bible is everywhere. It's in every library. You can, if you even just say like, I want a Bible, probably somebody's going to show up at your door with a Bible real soon. It's not a hard thing to find in this country. And if you want your children to read from the Bible every day, please make sure that happens in your home, in your church, in your religious group, in your social circles. There's a lot of ways to make sure that happens. The issue is you don't have the right to make sure that everybody else's kids are read your religious text. I don't know if you've read the Bible. I don't mean to put you on the spot here.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things in the Bible, I don't know if people know this, that I would not be comfortable with my children hearing in school.
Well, I would certainly not be comfortable, especially given that there's without instruction or comment is another part of this, that the Family Policy Center, they're interested in having these verses read without instruction or comment, which I have to say, is anything taught in school without instruction or comment? Like then, I can't remember, especially, like middle school and high school, like we're learning about things and the teacher is talking about the text that we're reading. So this would be another way that the Bible is getting an exception that no other text, no other curriculum is getting. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot in the Bible that without instruction or comment, I mean, that doesn't sound that can make a lot of people very uncomfortable very quickly, including myself.
Oh, I'm like, especially in the landscape of Idaho where school districts are pulling books because they discuss gay people or just really normal teenage situations, or like books are being banned in this state because a small group of people has decided they're inappropriate or they don't want children exposed to that. So those are being banned, but we're going to have children read the Song of Solomon in school. Are you kidding me? Have you ever read that? Like, how about Noah getting drunk and being naked? We're going to have our kids be read that without any comment. How about Lot's daughters getting their father drunk and sleeping with him? I don't feel like that's appropriate in a public school for my children to be read that without comment or discussion.
My big question, I guess, is, we have seen this group be successful, be effective, in different areas in the last few years, especially. And they are a newer group too. Should note that newer group in the landscape of Idaho politics. Is this just throwing a bomb and getting people like us to get really mad? Or do you think that this could actually happen? That the legislature the class legislature that's coming in 2025 will be interested in this?
I think based on the last election results, the Idaho legislature swung quite a bit more right. Yeah. And so I think, especially with the Senate swinging quite a bit more right, they've kind of been the
tempering,
more of a level-headed ish, if you can, heavy asterisk on that. But they swung quite a bit more right. And so I think, unfortunately, a couple of years ago, I might have said, there's no way, this is just for show. I think that there is a likelihood that this could get passed. And I think the entire point is they want a lawsuit that eventually goes to the Supreme Court,
right,
reversing that previous 1963 decision. And so that is the entire point. They want people riled up. They want a lawsuit. I do think there is not a small likelihood that this could pass.
I guess we should expect this is coming up, and people need to be paying attention to this. If you care about this issue, this is something like we're going to really have to be paying attention at every step along the way with this.
Are you ready to get into the holiday spirit? MartiniInTheMorning.com is a Boise-based internet radio station that's bringing you the timeless sounds of the great American songbook like Frank Sinatra and Louis Armstrong. For my family's favorite holiday traditions like driving around Boise, looking at the lights and sipping cocoa, I want a station that plays the same festive songs I remember from my own childhood. My new go-to station is Martini in the Morning. MartiniInTheMorning.com is owned by a family with deep Idaho roots and has been filling your days with the coolest, swinginest, and most romantic music. And this holiday season, they're turning up the cheer with their annual holiday music poll. You can customize your holiday soundtrack by voting for your favorite Christmas classics. Then tune in over Thanksgiving weekend as they count down the top 100 songs chosen by listeners like you. It's the perfect festive soundtrack you've been craving. Click the link in our description, enter the username and password provided to start streaming ad-free today.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
Another story that I thought was really interesting this week is from the Idaho Capital Sun, and it was a story about how the Boise Airport is now 100% powered through clean energy by the Idaho Power Program. I think this is kind of exciting, and you've talked a lot about Boise's plan for this, in depth. It's been on CityCast since before I was here. And so do you feel like this is a big step forward? Do you think this is showing progress?
I think it is. Yeah, and it's both the airport and the Lander Street wastewater facility, which between those two city-run facilities, buildings, very essential services, account for 25% of the city government's overall energy portfolio. So a quarter of the city government is now run by clean energy. And a big reason why this was possible, is because, solar energy, number one, has become a lot more affordable in recent years. There's infrastructure in Idaho now to accommodate it. And Idaho Power wanting to partner with the city, and Idaho Power has their own climate goals too, that's connected kind of. This is all added up to this kind of big accomplishment. Now there's so much further to go. There's a lot to get there, but like, for example, there's in the climate plan that Mayor McLean came in with in, I think it was 2021 officially when it was came out, a year into her first term, that the first big goal is just 5 years away. It's 5 years to get to the city government's power being 100% renewable. That's by 2030. And so, this kind of big step was definitely needed to get even close to that.
And so I'm also really curious if you feel comfortable explaining how this works. I mean, I've been to the airport recently and it's not covered in solar panels. The city of Boise is not covered in solar panels. You see them, but so how is the city working with Idaho Power to get, the government, the airport, the city functions run by clean power or solar power?
Yeah, great question. You're right. Although it'd be interesting to see if there could be solar panels on more buildings in the city itself. There's this huge solar project in Elmore County. It's called the Black Mesa Energy Project. And that is where the power is coming from. So the city, this was actually signed off last year, and now it's actually happening. These things do take time, right? So city council signed off on this big contract, and now it's officially happening and has been converted to officially this 100% solar power or 100% renewable mixed with solar for sure. This project, that 25% of what's being produced at this one solar farm in Elmore County is going to the city of Boise. And the remaining 75% is actually going to Micron. So Micron's also participating and taking advantage of this new project. But this is a new solar farm. This is the first time, I think, in Idaho, and the city seems to believe that they're the first municipality that can say that their airport's 100% using clean energy. So my question next is like, who will be next? Will there be other cities in Idaho that'll try to do something like this? I could imagine maybe Sun Valley, the Haley Airport. Would they be interested in plugging into this grid? So basically, essentially the city's decided this is a priority. The infrastructure was there from this solar farm, and Idaho Power created a exchange that allows the city to buy a certain number of megawatts from this solar farm.
And Frankie, I'm also curious to get your take on this. So with the recent election, President-elect Trump, his cabinet pick for the energy department is Chris Wright, who is an oil executive. So I feel like the presidential goals moving forward when it comes to clean energy or combating climate change are going to be very different maybe than what the city of Boise is working towards. Do you think that's going to have an impact on the city of Boise's efforts? Or do you think, cities are going to have to really pick up the slack because the federal government is going in a very different direction?
Yeah, great question. I think it's the latter. I think it's that the next 4 years is going to be all about the cities, all about, blue states, blue state governments. But in Idaho, Boise's standing alone. The Idaho legislature has not been interested in majorly moving toward climate goals related to renewable energy in recent years. And so far, the city of Boise is really having to lead on this. It's interesting, too, to think about, who's been the major voice behind that is Mayor Lauren McLean, along with city council members who are in support of it, of course. But this is her climate roadmap in a lot of ways. And like I said, there's that first goal that's just 5 years away. There's another big goal that's in 2035, 10 years out, that the entire community would be powered by 100% clean electricity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Idaho Power, like I said, they also have a clean energy goal, too, that they want to have 100% clean energy by 2045. But you're hearing a mismatch of those dates, right? And it also begs the question of, will Mayor McLean be the mayor in 2035? Will she be the mayor all the way out in 2050 when the goal is for the entire city? So everyone who lives in Boise also to be carbon neutral? Probably not. So certainly not for that 2050 number. I think we could say that. So kind of like, who is stewarding this? These goals take a long time. Just for this exact example, like I said, the city council, passed this last year, and it's only now getting off the ground for various reasons. So this all takes a lot of time, but it does seem like the city of Boise is very committed to doing what it can in the absence of legislative action, in the absence of federal attention probably for the next 4 years.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see Mayor McLean has the city council behind her. They seem to be working well together on this project. And so I'm really interested to see what is next. Like what will be the next big announcement? I know that they've got these different benchmarks, they want to work on vehicles, certain government buildings. So I am interested to see how they implement this and how it affects the city, how people feel about it. All right, Frankie, you know what's coming next. It's our picks of the week. And I'm really interested after this kind of bombshell week. Some good news, some crazy news. What is your pick of the week?
Yeah. One thing I love about Boise is that it is full of characters. And by that, I mean, they're just some of those people in town that, like, you maybe see them around, you don't know them personally, but you're like, oh, it's that guy. Like, oh, look at him. He's right there. He's doing that thing that he always is doing. Or this one person who's always at the dive bar you like to frequent or whatever. And they're known around town one way or another. And my pick of the week is a quintessential Boise character by the name of Arthur Ballinger. Do you know who Arthur is, Lindsay?
I don't know who Arthur is.
Okay. You're going to want to know him. So Arthur is a DJ at Boise State Public Radio at my old stomping grounds where I used to work. He's a music DJ, and Boise State Public Radio recently did a profile of him. And in it, he says that he's, quote, going for the cosmic plateau. That is his goal when he spins music. What
does that look like in practice?
He's blasting, Brian Eno or like something really ethereal, somebody riffing a guitar for like 10 minutes, and it's just blasting late into the evening. His shows are mostly like late night shows. So if you've ever stayed up until midnight or want to stay up until midnight or 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. and turn on KBSU, you'll be probably hearing Arthur spinning some tunes. He's just one of those guys that when you either listen to his music, certainly, or see him around town, you're like, hey, it's Arthur. Arthur's still doing his thing. And there's something reassuring about people like Arthur who are still doing their thing. Like, Boise's changed so much in 47 years. And the fact that he's still playing music and like really getting us all to a cosmic plateau. I don't know if maybe perhaps you need to go to Ontario to fully experience Arthur's music and his musical taste. But he's such an interesting character, and his music taste is fascinating. So if you haven't ever listened to it, I highly recommend it. And the reason why I would recommend it now is he's actually retiring in 2025. I just learned.
Oh, okay. So we've got a limited amount of time to experience the cosmic plateau.
Yes, Cosmic Plateau with Arthur. If you go to Highlands Hollow, that's probably a good spot to potentially see him drinking a beer at the bar. I know that's one of his favorite spots. But anyway, shout out to Arthur. Shout out to Boise characters in general and people that, make our community quirky and weird and different from others.
And well, I think reaching that cosmic plateau might be just what we need heading into 2025.
In this moment, I think
many of us could benefit from a cosmic plateau.
What about you, Lindsay?
This probably won't be a surprise. I actually talked about it a little bit on our November guide, but I just wanted to highlight it again because it's here. It's Festival of Trees time.
Okay.
And it starts next week. It goes from Wednesday, November 27th through Sunday, December 1st. So right over Thanksgiving break.
Perfect.
So if you need a minute to step away from maybe hecticness or having to run to all the stores, maybe just go spend a little bit of time wandering among the Festival of Trees, getting lost there. And they've announced that the proceeds from the festival this year are going to go to the St. Alphonsus Cancer Institute.
Okay.
So if you're looking to make some purchases or wanted to go to the gala and bid on a tree, it's going to something that will help the community, and it's their 40th year anniversary. So
wow.
This is big. They're having, some new things that they're, new displays they've been talking about. They're really going to do it up big this year. So I wanted to make sure and remind everyone it's here. This is time. Make sure if you were looking for something to do to hit up the Festival of Trees.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion in the middle of what could be a kind of a hectic week for people to go do that. And remind me, do you know how much it costs to get in? Is there a price for that?
So it's for adults, it's $10. Anybody in the military, $6. Children, $6. Seniors are also $6. And then if you have kids who are 2 and under, they're free. So
nice. Yeah,
$6 to $10, depending on how old you are or what groups you're part of.
Yeah, so it goes to a good cause regardless. So
yeah. I was going to say, it goes to a good cause, and not that expensive to get to go look at massive Lego displays and these really cool trees and see all kinds of different performances from groups throughout the community. So yeah, if you're looking for something, maybe you need to get out of the house, or you've got guests coming for the holidays and you want to showcase something in Boise. Yeah. Festival of Trees is a great thing to take people to. Have everybody look around and then tell you their favorite trees. That's a great conversation starter for family or friends or guests coming.
I love it. Thanks for the reminder.
Well, thank you so much for joining me again this week, Frankie. I hope you have a non-hectic pre-Thanksgiving weekend, and thank you so much for your great pick of the week.
Thanks so much, Lindsay.
That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. The show is produced by Evelyn Avitia, Frankie Barnhill, Francisco Kilgore, and me, Lindsay Van Allen. Blake Hunter writes our Hey Boise newsletter with help from Adrian Gonzalez this week. Our music is by Up As The Down As The, and we'll be back on Monday with ways to make the holidays meaningful, even if things are complicated with family. See you then.